Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the ultimate game plan for smoking multiple meats. So the purpose of this video is to give you some tips and tricks on how to smoke multiple meats in case you are asked to host or cater a big party. I don't know about you guys, but 2 briskets, 2 Boston butts, 4 racks of ribs, some sausage, and imaginary 4 bags of chicken that I haven't bought yet. To me, that's a big ask. So there's some tips, some techniques, some tricks that'll make this challenge a little bit more easier. Let's go ahead and get into tip number 1, the weight of your meat. When you're getting multiple cuts of meat, make sure you get them around the same weight. Let me give you an example here. I have 2 briskets that we're gonna be smoking. One is 12.46 pounds. The other one is 12.81 pounds. I've got these 2 Boston butts that we're gonna be smoking. 9 pounds for 9.41 and 10.89. I've got these rack of ribs. I mean, these are pretty much all going to be around the same, but they're between 4 pounds and 4.59. Then, of course, the sausage and your chicken. The reason this is important is because you want to get your meats out around the same time. You don't want to try to be guessing when they're going to be coming out. Tip number 2 is you got to know how long these meats typically take to smoke. Typically, we're gonna be smoking low and slow from 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit in your smoker. These babies will probably take anywhere between 15 to 20 hours. It depends on the size and depends on your temperature. Same thing with your Boston butts. They are gonna take roughly around the same time as your brisket. The ribs, we're gonna be doing a 3-2-1 method. So that's gonna take roughly about 6 hours. These babies will take about 2 hours. And my chicken should take about an hour and a half. Knowing that information is very vital, because now that you know how long it's gonna take, you also have to factor in the resting time. So if these briskets take me 16 to 18 hours, you need to add another 2 hours on top of that for resting. Same thing with your Boston butts, same thing with your ribs and sausage. You don't necessarily have to rest if you don't have to. And your chicken over here, imaginary chicken, does not need to be rested, but you need to factor those in. So if you have let's say you have a party that's gonna go ahead and begin around 7:30, you wanna start smoking these babies by no later than 8 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock at night, the night before. These guys, you can throw them in about 12, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. These guys, the ribs, you wanna go ahead and take these in there about 7 hours before. So if it's gonna start at 7:30, I would throw these in about 12, because we're gonna be doing the 3-2-1 method on these. The sausage, I would throw it in there about I would say about 2.5 hours before, so they can be in the smoker for 2 hours, and it gives you a chance to cut them up before the party starts. And of course, the imaginary chicken is gonna take roughly about an hour and a half in your to grill them at about 300 degrees. These guys are going to be going in for about 240 degrees. These guys are going to be doing about 225 to 240 degrees. And your Boston butts are going to be going in with your briskets at about 225 to 240, depending on your preference. So I do have other videos that show you techniques on how to select these briskets. If you do your job when you're selecting them at the market, you don't have to do too much trimming. You're looking for a fat cap that's about 1/4 of an inch thick, and you want these briskets to be very pliable. But I'll try to put a link right around here somewhere on top, so you guys can go and see those videos where it specifically talks about how to select the brisket. All I'm gonna do here is I'm going to season it with my favorite seasoning, which for me right now is Rudy's. You want to add some seasoning to the back part where the fat is, but you don't want to like concentrate too much on that, because really where you want to hit it with as much seasoning as possible is here where the meat is exposed. If you're going to go ahead and put your briskets in the same pan the way I am to season overnight or to marinate, you have a round part and you got a flat part on each side of the brisket. If your round part is on this side, the second brisket, you're going to lay it with the fat touching this part. We're gonna lay the round part to opposite, so that the weight kind of distributes evenly, like so. Now you wanna get yourself some aluminum foil. You can get this heavy duty, long aluminum foil. Now we're gonna put this in the refrigerator so we can marinate overnight. We're just going to add some mustard as a binder, and I scored the fat cap on this side so that I can get more of the seasoning in there. These babies are gonna go into the refrigerator and also marinate overnight. So we're back, we're now ready for the spare ribs. I got them all out of the bag already. Problem is that these spare ribs, I mean, you don't have to, but if you don't take this little membrane that it has here off, it's gonna make your ribs a little bit tougher to eat. So all you have to do here is get yourself like a dull butter knife. Try to get in between the layer of skin there. And once you pick it up there, maybe with like a piece of like a rag, paper towel, you can try to get as much of this membrane off as possible. The more you can get off, the better, because this is very tough. Sometimes they come out all in one piece, and sometimes they fight you. There you go. Same thing here. We're just gonna add mustard as a binder. So first. So we're back, guys, 24 hours later, ready to get this baby going. First thing that goes into the smoker are going to be my briskets. I've already loaded them up, but I'm gonna show you my setup. First things first, my fire management is gonna be through the Thermoworks signals and Billows fire management system. If you like what you see, there's a link on the description below so you guys can get your very own. But this is a very simple setup. I have my two briskets. The reason I set them up that way is because the heat is coming from the right to left. So I have the round part, which is the thicker part, is going to be on this side. The leaner part is going to be away from the heat so that it doesn't dry out. I am going to be inserting 2 temperature probes. Try to get it right around the middle. All right. So I did put a water pan down there with a mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. And I do have my temperature probe there. I did set my smoker at 240 degrees. We are going to be smoking at 240 degrees. All right, so it's 4 hours later. The briskets are coming along pretty nice. The next step here is to go ahead and put your Boston butts in. These babies are going to sleep overnight like our briskets. I'll see you guys in the morning, and we'll go to the next step. So you might run into this problem, especially when you're smoking multiple meats. You notice one of my briskets, it's already at 197, close to 198. My other one is just hitting 186. Problem is that this is going to come out before this one. So you have a couple of options here. If you have a really good insulated cooler, you can keep that brisket wrapped in foil. You can keep it in there for a good 6 to 8 hours if need be, as long as you're not opening and closing the cooler. Or if you have another smoker like the way I do, I have this masterbuilt electric smoker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the temperature on this smoker to about 160 degrees and use it as a warmer until it's ready for it to be put in the cooler 2 hours before I'm going to slice it. So just another quick tip there. If you do, you can use your electric smoker as a warmer if your briskets end up coming out sooner than expected. We are still about 12 hours away from, no, I'd say about 10 hours away from the start of the party. So this brisket is going to come out way too soon. But that is going to be my plan, to keep it nice and warm without it drying out. All right, so now it's time to put in the ribs. We're gonna be smoking these babies at 250 degrees for 3 hours unwrapped. Then I'm gonna pull them out, wrap them in foil, and put my little concoction in there. Put them for 2 more hours, then pull them back out and unwrap them, and then smoke them for another hour. So we're gonna go ahead and set these babies at 250 degrees. So I'm pulling out my Boston butt because for a couple of reasons. One, I like the way the bark has already set, and I wanted to stop the creation of bark. But also I'm a little bit, I guess you would call it, in need of time here. It's at 175 and I needed to get to 203, and it's not gonna get there if I just leave it the way it is. So I'm gonna wrap it up to stop the bark, and also at the same time I'm going to put it back in the smoker at the same temperature, and that should speed up the process of getting it up to the 200 to 203 mark. I got 2 heavy duty foil papers. Okay. Baby goes back in the smoker and wait till it hits 200 to 203. So while my ribs are in the smoker, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my little mixture that I like to put in there before I wrap them in foil. I'm going to get my favorite barbecue sauce. My go-to is Sweet Baby Ray's, and then some pineapple juice. This is going to be about a 1-to-1 ratio. If you like it a little thicker, more barbecue sauce, less juice. If you like it a little bit runnier, more juice, less barbecue sauce. Once we have this going, we're gonna set this aside. This mixture can also be used if you want. I'm not gonna do it today, but you can also put this on your chicken once it's done. You drizzle some of this when you're putting it in your pan and just let it sit there. You can use barbecue sauce and pineapple juice, or you can also use a mixture of barbecue sauce and apple juice. The other thing you're gonna need is some brown sugar. So we're gonna coat our ribs with this mixture, and then we're gonna put some brown sugar, wrap them up in foil, stick them back in the smoker for another 2 hours. So after 3 hours, your ribs should look something to this effect. We now go to the next step, which is wrapping it in foil. I am gonna add that little concoction that I made earlier. We're just gonna go ahead and slather it on there. Then grab a little bit of brown sugar. We're gonna wrap it, but we gotta make sure we remember which side is the bones facing down, because we want to have the bone facing down when we put it back in there. So we're about 3 hours before the party is supposed to start. So perfect time to light up the pit, start seasoning your leg quarters, your chicken leg quarters, so you can throw them on the barbecue pit. What I'm gonna be using today is a combination of Lawry's seasoned salt and the fajita seasoning. So you got a 2-pan system here. This would probably be your most inexpensive way of feeding the masses. Probably about $5 or $6 a bag. I got 4 bags. That should be more than enough for the type of for the amount of people that I should be expecting. Here. Throw in some fajita seasoning. Then we can flip them over. Start with the Lawry's again as a base. Once you're done seasoning all your chicken, it's time to put it in the pit. So the chicken has been laid down. Leave it in there for about an hour at about 300 to 325, and then we'll take it to the next step. So the final step here on your 3-2-1 ribs is unwrapping them. If you want, which I am going to do today, put some barbecue sauce, slather some barbecue sauce over the ribs right before you stick them into the smoker for another hour. Remember to have a trash bag or something handy, because you're going to have a lot of juice from the ribs themselves. They're going to release a lot of juice, and also from the marinade that we put on there. All right, so at this point, these babies are going to go back into the smoker for about another hour so they can stiffen. Just so you know, this is what we're dealing with right here. So after about an hour, you're going to get something that looks like this. Check your chickens, because you do have some hot spots in your grill, and you'll get some that are going to be done before the others. What you want to do here is, if you want to get a little, these I turned around to get a little bit of a crisp on them. If you don't, this is what it looks like when you don't turn them around. Just leave them here, make sure the bottom does not burn on you. But once they look done, internal temperature of 160 to 165, start pulling them out. Depending on how far off your party is going to start, get yourself a roaster, stick them in there. Put it on warm and wait for your guests to arrive. So after your ribs are in there for about an hour, to let them stiffen up a little bit, this is what you get. Sometimes they're so tender that they start flying apart on you, but that's fine. The last step here before you serve them is to cut them. You want to cut in between the bones. Or if you want to have, let's say, 2 per bone. Or if you want to have 2 bones per serving, that's fine. But, that's good. Basically comes off. All right. Just there you go. I mean, the bones are just kind of falling off, so put them in a pan. Now for the pulled pork. Gotta unwrap it first. Now this one is a bone-in pulled pork, so there should be a bone somewhere around here that should just, well, do kind of that. I don't want to stick my hands in there, it's kind of hot. There you go. Clean as a whistle. Now I have these fancy claws that I use, but you can use 2 forks just to pull it apart. I mean, this. Here. There you go, that's how you do your pulled pork. And finally, we got our 2 briskets here that I'm going to be cutting inside because it's way too hot. So what I want to recommend on that is always cut against the grain on that. And then, of course, about 2 hours before, I put some sausage in here to smoke as well. This one you don't have to do anything, don't season it, don't eat, just throw it in there and leave it in there for about a couple of hours, and you can pull it out and cut it up for your guests. So this has been the Smoking Beard, showing you how to time your meats for a big party. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. See you guys.